I cannot figure out how to get into this place. It's got a fence all the way around it. It just goes on forever. But we're gonna keep walking, see if we can't figure it out. It's called the ESMA Museum. We haven't been able to get into. It's a old government facility, I believe. Okay, we made our way in. I'm seeing Diego Maradona here on the wall. Tell what it says? What's that?
The place we went down this way, right?
Is it? Well, we definitely can't walk down this way.
Yeah.
Because there's a fence. Oh, you mean back that way?
I really prefer just voice.
Okay.
So, this is the officer's house, a place where the highest ranked Marines used to live while they were working in the Navy Mechanical School, mostly because they were the teachers and the directives of the Navy Mechanical School. The school was working in this whole complex, which is 17 acres long, and it has around 35 buildings. At the same time, this was also a clandestine center for detention, torture, and extermination. Around 5,000 people were kept in hostage here, and between 250 and 280 only survived. You will find mostly the testimonies of those survivors in the trials since 1985 until nowadays, that the trials are still on course, about the dual function of the building being a house for the officers of the Navy and also a clandestine center of detention. At the same time, during the 7.5 years of the dictatorship, also the systematization of the crimes and the methods that the Navy used to make this place a place of horror. And lastly, keep in mind that the building is still evidence in the trials that are still on course nowadays, so you cannot touch or lean against the walls, you cannot drink or eat during the
basement was the first place prisoners were taken to when arriving at ESMA. Also, it was the last place they would go through. They were then taken up to the basement stairs to be driven to the city airport, Aeroparque, and other military bases. In those places, they were taken to the aircrafts and thrown still alive to the Rio de la Plata or to the sea. The transparent glass panel is inspired by a serapeum, an architectural device with backgrounds in ancient Egypt and used to honor fallen gods or heroes. The abductees were taken violently to the basement to be interrogated under torture, and here they were again drawn together before the transfers. The euphemism that the Navy officers used to refer to the definitive disappearance of prisoners. Torture was a systematic practice that would begin with the abduction, the placement of the hood, and the transfer to the clandestine center. Immediately after admission, the abductors were taken to this place to be tortured. The repressor's intention was to seek information from the prisoners. But torture was also used to destroy families, the political activity, resistance to dictatorship, and ties of solidarity and support in society. The number of torture rooms in this area increased as years went by. By the second half of 1977, the rooms had increased from 1 to 5, and they were located in the rear of this building. The corridor leading to these rooms was ironically called by the Navy officers as the Avenida de la Felicidad, Avenue of Happiness. In the basement was the low elevator of the building. The elevator was intentionally put out of service before 1979 inspection of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. In 2010, the team of the conservators located the shaft with the springs behind a fake wall built to hide it. The beam. The beam is one of the first memories of some of the survivors. Located in the basement access room, it caused the prisoners to bump their heads as they were blindfolded or pushed by the guards. To access the bathrooms were repeatedly pointed out among the testimonies as methods of denigration and dehumanization. It was common to see prisoners being punched, humiliated, and abused. However, the place is also remembered as one of the few spaces where detainees could also socialize with each other. They would exchange pieces of news or engage in conversation, which years later helped identify the whereabouts of those who were disappeared.
De una persona que tiene que orinar en un balde con las manos esposadas es algo bastante degradante. Y además el olor, la luz permanente y las ratas. No es algo menor. Yo no puedo olvidar el caminar de las ratas sobre el cuerpo de todos nosotros.
De vida, o si se puede decir de vida, de los prisioneros.
Before the military dictatorship, El Dorado was the hall of ceremonies of the Navy officers. From 1976, it was used for the planning of the abductions. According to the testimony of the survivors, the clandestine center was provided with prisoners through an endless circuit that began with an abduction, continued with torture, detention, and transfer. El Dorado was the core of the bureaucratic structure where information was processed in its offices, blackboards, and files that allowed the same engine to be started thousands of times. We can also see the reproduction of a record card that was used to register information related to the prisoners. According to the testimonies, the record cards contained information about each detainee, classified under a nomenclature: D, detained; T, transfer; R, released; in Spanish, L for liberado. These documents prove the existence of a bureaucratic structure for death, and it is a clear evidence of the files that the Navy never handed in. Dorado screening. The visit to the ESMA Memory Site Museum ends with this projection, which shows that more than 40 years after the civil-military coup d'etat, those who are responsible for the crimes are being judged. The trials of crimes against humanity represent a conquest of the fight of human rights organizations and constitute a state policy for which Argentina is recognized around the world. We now invite you to become new witness on what happened in this place. Tell your friends and families what you have experienced during the visit around this memory site. The recovery and maintenance of this space is the responsibility of every man and woman. We look forward to seeing you soon. When you exit the museum, you're gonna pass through Memory, Truth and Justice Square.
So you can't get in this front door here, that front gate, but I guess we could have gotten in way down this road. Okay, I think we're finally at the gate.